What's up, nerds? It is a different kind of video today. I'm actually doing something I find very interesting and surprised I was even able to pull it off. But I am interviewing someone over Zoom that has worked on like basically any superhero animation that you can think of. I mean, we're talking DC, Marvel, the whole lot. But more importantly, has worked as a director on The Legend of Vox Machina. So I don't think I need to say really anything else. I think you're already going to be interested. So take a listen to our conversation, and yeah, I'll talk to you about it later. Hey.
There. Hey, how's it going, man?
Dude, pretty good. Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah. Should I clean up my fucking room or?
If you want to tidy up a little bit, that's cool. I'm not too worried about it. It's up to you, man.
We're seeing how the sausage gets made, right? So.
Yeah. Are you working from home?
Yeah. That's my job right now. It's just like I'm storyboarding on another production, and it's all just like home. Working from home. It's great. Animation actually is great in that respect. You can just like work on your thing and just draw all day. And you don't really need to see a lot of people, depending on the job. Like I'm storyboarding right now. Directing was like very much like there's a lot of Zoom calls. Just
oh yeah. So you did the whole thing remote?
No, mostly. So the first episode was done like how it was done pre-2020. It was like, everyone kind of commutes to a studio, and a lot of the studios are in like Burbank. I don't know, where are you?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a lot of the studios in LA are in Burbank or Glendale. And so, like, a lot of the animation people live around there, like in Pasadena, and just commute to the studio. And they'd go there, get there around 10, just kind of do their work, and leave at 7, usually. So
that was episode 1, the whole thing.
That was episode 1. Well, that was for me, because I was a director for every 3 episodes, so I'm an episodic director, which means there's me and there's 2 others directing every 3 episodes. We will have an episode. There's a supervising director, an art director. There's a huge team that goes into every show. I directed the first one, so that's the one I remember not directing from home. But the other 2 directors also directed an episode. I think 1, 2, and 3 were all in the office, and then 4, just in the middle of 4, it just like, Armageddon started, so.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I could imagine that being pretty tough, because it's not, so I went back and watched like the creating the Critical Role, the Legends of Vox Machina, and it seems like you have like the voice acting directors, and you have like the concept artists, and all these different like hands on this story. At what point in that process do you guys receive like the go ahead to start?
So like with every production, it starts with, it obviously starts with concept. It starts with, there being a script, and, this was cool because there was a lot of content that, could be used from the show. But I had no part in that. They have, script writers, script editors, showrunners and stuff who will deliver scripts. And then after the script is delivered to a state that like people can get behind, they then get a design team. And sometimes the design team is just like hired right in the beginning just to get like backgrounds, visual development, style boards, which is like a board that just the art director or some designer will just like make to be like, hey, this is how the show will look in terms of just like a vibe. Okay. And the color or whatever.
And when you say backgrounds, you mean like sceneries, like the background sceneries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important. Like when I step on, I step on after all that is like that, those wheels have been turning for a little bit. So like I get on and there's already like some style that we can kind of go off of to like just start boarding, just start doing our job and kind of feel like what the show's supposed to be. And you need the character models for sure. And you know, it helps to have a couple backgrounds to just be like, oh, this is what this show is. Okay. Cause like some shows you just don't know, you know, this one's pretty easy cause it's like high fantasy, and high fantasy, you kind of like,
Everybody
we've all
knows.
seen, yeah, we've all seen those images. So like, but like, you know, some shows you just don't know. So like, it's good to just see images and stuff. And yeah, so that all has to happen before I come in. And then when I came in, then we had to get some board artists to really like, it's an action adventure show, which is like very drawing heavy. Like you got to like really know your stuff, know your anatomy, know your perspective, know like, you know, your dynamic shots, and it's very drawing heavy. So like you have to find like the right people, or else it's a huge problem down the line. But there's a, you know, I think like a few months before I even enter the picture.
And then once you do enter the picture, where do you go from there? Like what happens?
Oh,
Like how do you go from like just backgrounds and some concept art and then turn that into like animated moving things that work with a script? I'm guessing you start with a script, like the script might draw your storyboarding.
yeah. All right. Let's say, okay, so I get a script and I have my storyboard artist and I kind of look at their work and just think like, oh, this storyboard artist would do well with this section where there's like there's some emotional beats that are pretty juicy and they like to do emotional stuff. So I'll give them some pages for that. And then there'll be like a storyboard artist that's maybe a little bit oriented towards action and does dynamic action. So a lot of it as a director is it's like managing people, but also being an artist at the same, it's like a 50-50 split of being like, they would do good at this and just delegating like what people would be good at to like deliver the best show. So I section off. And then since I'm not working on any prior episodes for the first episode, I can also board some board.
Oh, cool.
So that's what I did. So it's a mix of, you know, just like getting everyone, making sure that they're situated, they have their computer working and all that.
Right.
Everything's fine. They have all their assets. They're good. And making sure they're like sort of, you know, servicing the story and, you know, making drawings that work for the show. And then also drawing. So my personal process of storyboarding is I'll like print out the script and, you know, there's just margins on the side and I'll do little scribbles of, you know, shots that I think of like juicy moments that I want to really like, emphasize and, kind of key moments, you know, that are like, ooh, that like things that are built to a certain point. I'll kind of board those out first or whatever is most interesting to me first. And then, you know, just kind of go from there, from pencil thumbnails, like on the script to then using the software, which is Storyboard Pro. And I put the thumbnails in there and, we all get all of our thumbnails together, all the board artists and myself, put it in an animatic, look at it. And then me and my supervising director will be like, okay, this works great. This doesn't work great. Or if there's some script alteration, we're like, oh, well, okay, so something happens in 2 episodes down that we have to keep in mind. So this section's out. We got to change this section and put this section in instead. So there's just a lot of troubleshooting with that. But once we nail down what we're going to do, then it's off to the rough stage, which is like we're fleshing out the animations a little bit just so we can read the flow. And then there's another editing process for that. It's like, oh, this isn't moving right. He comes in a little late. Blah blah blah. So, but the what's it called? The decisions being made are kind of a little bit more micro as we get down to it. And then when that's approved, there's a clean stage where it's like, all right, now we just got to polish this up to communicate as best we can, and
get all your timing just right, and
just time it,
finish it off.
Because so it's not animated at Titmouse; it's animated overseas.
Oh, okay.
You got to really be like precise,
specific, yeah.
Yeah, because like there are some things that get lost in translation sometimes. Like I heard of a story when I was working at WB when someone put in a fist bump in the board, and like there was some animators in Korea who were just like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So they animated all like this. Just like slow, and like they didn't know what to do with it. So like it came back all strange. So you got to kind of time it right. You got to kind of just like spell it out. And, sometimes you just cross your fingers. You don't know. Luckily, we had a dope animation studio work on Vox Machina. So. And
was that in Korea or was that in Japan?
Yeah, it was in Korea.
Okay, cool, man.
Korea. They're dope. It was a pleasure seeing our stuff come back, and it was exactly, if not sometimes better, than what we had originally boarded. So
it's so interesting because I was really curious about because when I think of a director, right, and I'm sure what most people think of is like someone directing people on a set and telling them, no, do it again, just kind of shouting out orders. But when you're thinking about an animation, everything happens in such different steps and not all at the same time. So yeah, I was curious what it meant to direct. I think you explained it really well. I like that, even just the idea that you can delegate responsibilities to people based on their affinity or what you think they might enjoy. When you were storyboarding the first episode, or even just generally when you're storyboarding, what kind of things do you like to sketch out or put down?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I really like storyboarding. Like directing is fun and it's nice to see your name in big letters, but like I'm an artist first, and I like to deliver something pretty. Like I like the delivery. I like working on something in a corner like a craftsperson, just like, and then like, look what I did, and they go like, oh my god, that's great. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's what I like to do. So directing is like kind of 50% that, but no one really is like, hey, pat on the back. You're accountable for the episode. So like if someone fucks up, if storyboarders fuck up, which we had a very talented team, so it didn't happen a lot, but when it happens, and it'll always happen because it's just out of people's control a lot of the times, it's just script stuff, you have to do it. And that means sometimes just like straight up losing a day of sleep. Dang. Because like deadlines are deadlines, and you got to do it. So it's just like it's not the same kind of job. Storyboarding, like when I was on when I was on Guardians of the Galaxy, the cartoon, the show, that was my first storyboarding job, like full time. Before then I was the revisionist for Spider-Man, which is not exactly the same, but the revisionists are very important as well.
And they kind of critique the storyboards and then send them back. Is that what revisionist does? They just edit the storyboard down, or?
In a sense, I'll critique them as a director, and then revisionists are kind of like the director's hands, because like the director can't can't do a lot of stuff, and animation is so time consuming that like you need other hands to just be like, please do this, and because this needs to be fixed. Sometimes it's stupid shit. It's like, hey, this guy needs a cowboy hat on every time he's in scene, he needs a cowboy hat, and he's not wearing a cowboy hat. So, and that'll take like
But that's
2
not
days.
something that you want to go and communicate every time, right? So
yeah,
it's kind of like
it's not something that I can just do because I'm looking at all kinds of stuff. I got to do so many things. So revisionists are super important, super helpful, and we ended up having some talented revisionists as well, so that was really nice. Anyway, I digress. I was a revisionist on Spider-Man, and then I got hired as a storyboard artist on Guardians of the Galaxy, and I realized I realized on Spider-Man that I really was interested in like brutal action, like extreme violence, and also like emotional shots, like emotional um, acting and stuff like that. Like I really like acting, and I really like just destruction. So bombs going on, especially like people who are really strong, like
Yeah, so you're straight up barbarian out here.
yeah, like Grog was a blast to board. Um, but even on like Guardians of the Galaxy, there was a character who was she was like a I forgot, it was so long ago. It was like she was like a Kree. It was someone very strong, and she just like one punch and it would like big explosions. And then when I went to WB, I got to board on Superman movies and stuff like that, and it was just or Wonder Woman fighting Nazis. Like it's a blast to just like have someone punch somebody, and that dude just goes flying into a wall, ricochet, boom, bang, bang. Uh, that's my jam. So I really like that, and I really like stupid acting too. So I mean, essentially, this show is like perfect
for you. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's vulgar enough. It's got like it's emotional beats that I like to hit, and just stupid action.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't a more mature show, it could have gotten cheesy really fast. And I think the touches of just like, yeah, vulgarity and just brutal violence is what it needed. Um, I watched those first 3 episodes. First of all, it looks amazing. It looks freaking incredible.
We had a great team. Like that, honestly, the team, it goes from like design, us, and then it hits like, it gets animated, and then there's post, there's compositing, there's editors. It's like so many people, and like it amazes me how it looks at the end, because I'm in the front of the pipe, like
yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. Like the little embers.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The little things without giving anything away. It's just like, yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff.
So one thing that I noticed was that some things seem to be like animation as, what am I trying to say? Just straight up 2D animation. And then there are some other little parts that have 3D elements to them. What determines whether something would be 3D animated versus two-dimensional?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's really just how hard is it to draw consistently in different angles. So
something that's super intricate and moving at a weird angle.
Super intricate are things that aren't really malleable. Like people kind of change shape, and there's a little bit of give to like what can communicate as a human shape, right? But a car can't move. A car can't stretch around and kind of like be dynamic in its shape. That's just not going to happen. That's not going to look right. Unless you want like a Roger Rabbit car or something like that. And then that's fine. But so it's often cars, like vehicles, Jeeps, planes, helicopters, stuff like that. And also big stuff just to get like scale right. It's stuff like that. Yeah.
Because I'm guessing in 2 dimensions, yeah, some things, especially if they're large and intricate, are going to be hard to continue to scale all the pieces of them relative to like the size of the normal person in the universe.
Yeah. It's we're human after all, and I think like as storytellers, we think of shots before we think of scale. Sometimes, at least I do. And so I'm guilty of just making things either sometimes way too big or way too small. And it helps to have like a 3D model of, things at their appropriate size.
I have 2 more questions for you. One, feel free to tell me that you can't answer it if you can't. But one thing that's very integral to, this is the only one that I think might be questionable. So,
okay.
One thing that's like pretty integral to Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games is like the leveling system. You become more powerful as you grow and you overcome things. And that's also true in like Avatar or like, The Last Airbender or any anime. The characters are always growing and progressing. But normally it's only like one character that you would have to worry about like one, maybe two characters that are evolving and changing their abilities and their effects. But here you have like a whole party that are all supposed to be growing at the same time. Does that create any challenges in like the visuals that you have to keep putting out? Like you can't just get kind of in the same visuals, or is that not so much of a problem in this animation project?
Huh. That I don't think I'm going to speak on
That's
something
fine.
general.
Okay.
Because I don't want to speak specifically for the
Sure.
show. But it is tough. And I think I play some D&D. I dip into the 20-sided die.
Nice.
And I have a character called Bernie Cinders, which is like it's like Bernie Sanders, but he's like a sorcerer with fire. He's like a fire type
Bernie
sorcerer.
Sanders. Yeah. I get
Bernie
it.
Cinders. You know, sometimes I want to like draw him doing like some sort of like healthcare for all, throw a fireball at the screen. And it's hard because like animation should be dynamic. And so you always want to make the biggest shots you can make for whatever. Is this a magic missile? You have him throw it like like with his entire body and like let it wipe to exactly to the camera. Boom. So it's always going to be dynamic. But then you run out of dynamic shit to do. So you got to figure out, all right, well, if he's like level 2 and he's only doing level 2 shit, then
That's going to get boring fast.
I mean, yeah, you want the audience to be like in there, like, oh shit, he did a fucking magic missile right in his face. And then he's a level 4, and then what? He's gonna summon like a storm cloud, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get it's hard to up yourself, and I think that's an issue with like every like anime. I feel like after the first arc of every anime, it just becomes a numbers game of like, oh, now we're like Naruto, for instance. It's like, now we're 3 tails, now we're 4 tails, now we're
right.
5 tails.
You're
like,
not wrong.
yeah, or like Dragon Ball Z, it's like level whatever.
Yeah.
It becomes like you need these markers, these number markers, like just straight up, I'm level X, to be like, oh, now we can understand just logically how much damage to expect when you punches someone, or
Right.
you know, it's hard to do because you really want to max out every scene. So it's a delicate balance.
Last question about the show, and then I'll ask you a little bit about yourself. But the last question I have about the show is like, I was watching, right? I'm watching the first episode, and then I watched the second episode. I just watched all 3. I had my D&D party over and we watched. And when episode 3 we started watching it, and I realized, I was like, yo, I'm watching a Dungeons and Dragons animated series. I've never seen that before. That's freaking dope. And I started thinking about like, and not only that, dude, it was on like the front page of Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Like something that you did was on the front page of Prime Video. That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking like, man, there are so many dope Dungeons and Dragons stories. Like, I mean, you have like the Tomb of Annihilation and like these other modules that just don't have characters, but are like dope, dark, you know, grim, dark, brutal stories that could make amazing, longer form stories. Do you see any like future for like this, I guess, style of story generation becoming more mainstream?
I mean, I hope so. That's the $1 million question, right? Like, I think that I was on YouTube because I was like, what are the fans thinking? Like, right when it came out. And there were some videos that were like, we need this many views, guys. Like, it's as if we're all in a group going like, we will, on our nerd shoulders, push this up into the mainstream by watching the shit out of it. And I think there's a lot of us who like this sort of high concept stuff that just want to see it more. And I think, you know, I hope so. I am optimistic. I think the big thing with fantasy was like, it's so tough because like we really had a champion in Game of Thrones, didn't we? where it was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, for sure.
I was like, I was seeing someone at the time. I was like, she was not a nerd. And I was like, you got to watch this show. And she was like, dragons. And then we had broken up and she was still watching it like till, when it got bad. Like, so that one broke our hearts because like, it just got stunk after a while. That last season was just so bad. So like, I think we're in a recovery period of like, is this a bankable commodity to do, fantasy mainstream? Because it's usually very CG heavy, costume heavy. Like it's like a big investment, right? To do fantasy. So I don't know if people want to take that risk, but hopefully this is something that puts the meter in the right direction,
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to think that that you could be the proof of concept for something, right? Like something like, I think it's super cool. Since like I've been following you and, getting to know you, your Instagram makes me so curious about you as a person because I've seen like lead singer in a band. You make your own jerky. I think I saw you doing some Wim Hof stuff. Like, I'm like, who is this dude? Like, what? You seem to have a lot of interest. Like, what interests you, and what makes the bar for grabbing your attention?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I'd like to ask that to myself. I just do what interests me, and I think it's yeah, man. Yeah, that's honestly like I wish I could answer that in an easy way. I just like what I like. And so I jump from let's see, like it's a mix of like what can I do that will grow myself and also is difficult. So there has to be some sort of pain involved for me to like be interested in it. So like when you were saying, well, like the jerky is just like fun. I like to make stuff and jerky. Like I spend a lot of time outdoors and I go, like backpacking, and I haven't in a while for obvious reasons. But I like to do that. So I got a dehydrator. My friend sent it over to me, so I was like, yeah, let's make our own recipe. And I like spicy stuff, so I was like, I'm just gonna put some habanero in here and see how it works. And it tasted delicious. Delicious. But other than that, yeah, I like I think I gravitate towards like I guess intensity, like and dark themes, violent themes, stuff like that. So I've always liked metal, so I'm in a metal band. I'm a metal vocalist, and that scratches an itch. I feel like I have a lot of itches. Let's say like I'm a really itchy person, and I have like one on my head, and that's like the metal itch, and I have to scratch that every so often. I have I want to perform that itch, so that's scratching that. I also like to tell stories. That's another itch. I like to draw, so it's like, I'm just like kind of I like to just get after it creatively. It's all creative endeavors, though. I like to really like push myself in different ways and see how those ways can possibly connect. Like, there's a lot of cool intersection between metal music and high concept art. And especially animation. But like metal and artwork have always been like, sort of succinct, at least in my eyes, because like they're just high concept medias, which is like the lyrics for metal it's like about like, it can range from dragons to aliens to, the universe, psychedelic stuff, demons, whatever. It's all like ideas. Whereas like I feel like other types of music, it's like mostly about love or about going to the club or whatever, and those are great too. But I think art, like the type of art that I like, the type of stories that I like, and the type of music that I like, they all kind of like have to do with like ideas and stuff. And I like to see how they like intersect if possible.
Dude, awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, man, and taking time. I really appreciate this. This is awesome.
No problem.
Where can people find you if they want to find out about your art and like your music and everything? I'll link everything down in the description. But what do you want them to see, and where would you like them to see it?
Hell yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at heller.young. That's my personal Instagram that I'll post like band stuff and art stuff on there. If you want to just see animation stuff, like storyboarding, directing stuff, that's Young Heller at Young Heller. And then Hexacon is the band I'm in. And that is at Hexacon Band. And we're just like a metal band. Thrash Doom, a reviewer has called it.
Okay, I'll post your Bandcamp down there
Hell
too.
yeah. Oh yeah, we have a Bandcamp. Great.
Black Rainbow, I would recommend everybody listen to for
Hey.
sure. It's slick.
Let's go. Yeah, but that's it, man. Just trying to keep it spicy, I guess.
Cool, man. Yeah, keep it. I dig it. I dig it. Well, thanks again, man, so much. I really appreciate your time to kind of talk to me and the people who will watch. So, yeah, thanks, man.
Hell yeah, man. Have a good one.
You too.